So this is my series where I'm going through Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, where I'll be going through it chapter by chapter to help you discover the principles that are in this magnificent book, and maybe they might help you achieve your own goals. So this is chapter 2, Waging War. Let's get into it. So, Sun Tzu says here, in the operations of war, where there are in the field 1,000 swift chariots, as many heavy chariots, and 100,000 mail-clad soldiers, with provisions enough to carry them 1,000 li. The expenditure at home and at the front, including entertainment of guests, small items, such as glue and paint, and some spent on chariots and armor, will reach the total of 1,000 ounces of silver per day. Such is the cost of raising an army of 100,000 men. Now, the swift chariots were lightly built chariots used for attacks, whereas the heavy chariots were designed to defend. So you have these chariots that are lightweight, fast attacking, and you have the defensive ones. Furthermore, 1 li is 2.78 li is 1 mile. Now, it might have varied a bit in time, but like the main point here is that Sun Tzu emphasizes here that it's super expensive to have an army of 100,000 people or 100,000 men. Now, raising this army is very costly, but he also emphasizes that you need some kind of entertainment for the people that's going to war, so they don't that's not all they think about. They need some kind of deflection when while you're traveling to make the journey easier upon the men. Now, he also mentions here that when you engage in actual fighting, if victory is long in coming, then men's weapon will grow dull and their ardor will be damped. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength. This is something where he talks about, well, if victory is long in coming, like if it's gonna come long term, you have to know on the way that there's gonna be some stress. There's gonna be some kind of like the men's weapons grow dull, right? That could be compared to like attention, or how their valor will be dampened, and how they believe that they cannot, like how they might grow tired and maybe lose motivation for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, right? That you will exhaust your strength if you lay siege to a town. So the siege to a town here is equivalent to you reaching your goal. If you want to gain a six-pack, or if you want to become a professional player, or you want to take a long education, well, on the ways you will exhaust your strength. But it's really important that you know this, so you can work around it and work to know that when you need like your strength back and replenish, that's where you have the entertainment, and you have some place where you can deflect and go somewhere else and do something completely different, and then come back to it again with encouraged strength. Now, then Sun Tzu later says here, there's no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. That means that when you are fighting a dilemma for a prolonged time, either you cannot defeat it, which means that you won't benefit from it, or if you go through it, you can actually become greater than you were before. But that depends on the obstacle that's ahead of you. Now, he also says here that it's only one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war that can thoroughly understand the profitable way of carrying it on. Now, that's basically mentioning like experience. What is the experience that you can have? Have you been to war, and have you succeeded in war, and do you know the secrets and the evils of this war? You can understand like the factors and the variables that goes into it, and how you can make it profitable for you to carry on doing it. This could again be in the education example, right? If you have like a sibling or a cousin or someone you know who has already been on the journey of going through a long education, and you're just starting on it yourself, well, then you can learn from their experience, and then learn from their evils of war, as you could say, like how they got through the entire thing, and then they can give you these nuggets and these bits of information and tips that can help you become profitable, and maybe have your experience become greater than what your acquaintance had. Now, the skillful soldier does not raise a second levy, neither are his supply wagons loaded more than twice. Now, to emphasize this, right, it's once war is declared, the soldier will not waste precious time in waiting for reinforcements, nor will he return his army back for fresh supplies, but crosses the enemy's frontier without delay. This may seem as an audacious policy to recommend, but with all the great strategies from Julius Caesar to Napoleon Bonaparte, the value of time that is being a little ahead of your opponent has counted for more than either numerical superiority or the nicest calculations with regard to commissariat. So this is where the focus is on speed and on execution rather than the time it takes for you to acquire what it is that you're supposed to acquire, right? So if you're trying to become a professional footballer or a professional esports athlete, right, you need to understand that your supply wagons cannot be loaded more than twice, and you should not raise your second levy, which means that you have your opportunity, you have the time and the mentality to go through with what it is that you're trying to achieve. And then there's the amount of like speed of how fast, how effective you are of realizing the goals you have, of how you plan out the thing that you want to conquer. Now, when you bring, it also mentions here that bring war material with you from home, but forage on the enemy. Thus will the army have food enough for its needs. Which means bring your experiences with you from home, but then learn from the experiences that you gather around. Take all of the resources around you that you can use and then apply it onto yourself. And thus using the enemies and use their resources, or this, in this sense, is use the enemy's resources, so the army will have enough food. Like the journey will continue through not you taking everything out of your own pocket, but taking it from everyone else. That's like gaining experience from more experienced people in the field that you want to work in. This is very the very emphasis of this chapter is about learning from experience and how you can like wage war, like the journey you have to go through to become the next, like where you want to go. Like, need to know all the variables that are going inside. You need to know what it is that is worth knowing. And you don't know what you don't know. That's why you need experience. You need to speak with people who know about these things. And that's where you come into the picture. And you will, and then with the right mentality, you can learn and absorb everything, and then use everything that you can use that on yourself, and use those principles. Now, with this loss of substance and exhaustion of strength, the homes of the people will be stripped bare, and 3/10 of their income will be dissipated. While government expenses for broken chariots, worn-out horses, breastplates and helmets, bows and arrows, spears and shields, protective mantlets, draught oxen and heavy wagons will amount to 4/10 of its total revenue. Hence, a wise general makes a point of foraging on the enemy. 1 cartload of the enemy's provision is equivalent to 20 of one's own, and likewise a single pickle of his provender is equivalent to 20 from one's own store. Now, this means what Sun Tzu is saying here is, well, it takes 20 cartloads. The 20 cartloads will be consumed in the process of transporting 1 cartload to the front, which means that 1 cart that you take from the enemy is worth 20 of your own. Now, a pickle in this sense is a unit of measure equal to 133 pounds or 65.5 kilograms. So that's a lot of food, actually, in this sense, or a lot of provisions. Now, he mentions here, in order to kill the enemy, our men must be roused to anger. That there may be advantage from defeating the enemy, they must have their rewards. Which means, whenever you achieve something, and that's something you can do for yourself. Whenever you achieve something, you hit like a milestone that you've set that you wanted to hit, you have to remember to reward yourself. Because when you reward yourself, you know that this is like that you have achieved something. And then you have a new new motivation to move forward. Everything cannot just be focusing on the potentials, but also remember the rewards of what you get, and remember what it is that you actually learn throughout the journey until you hit this milestone. And then keep that in mind when you continue forward and learn from the practices and do better every time. Be more effective, be more efficient in how you do these things. Now, as Sun Tzu says here, in war, then let your great object be victory, not lengthy campaigns. In this sense, it's super important that you focus on here he mentions the victories, the milestones, the places you go, what you experience, whatever you learn from other people, and not focus on the small wins instead of the entire journey. So if you have a 5-year education system, well, focus on the first semester. Okay, great, you've done that. Now focus on the next semester and the next semester. It's the same as if you want to become a professional Counter-Strike player. You look at, well, you play the first official. Okay, then you play the next official. And then maybe you play your first HLTV match. Okay, well, when you get your first HLTV match, maybe that's where you need a reward, because that's a milestone. So you have to reward yourself with something, right? And then maybe when you get your first online victory in a LAN or a online cup victory or a LAN victory, and then, you know, have these milestones on the way, and always remember that especially if you're a part of a team, remember to reward everyone, and especially yourself if you're doing some things on your own, like if you're doing a team sport or if you're doing education. So it's really, really important that you know these things. And as Sun Tzu ends this chapter with is, thus it may be known that the leader of armies is the arbiter of the people's fate, the man on whom it depends whether the nation shall be in peace or in peril. This means that the captain of the ship, whoever is the leader of the project that's going on, needs to know these things in order for them to gain the success and become embodied with the journey. And then everyone comes together and focuses on the journey together, and focuses on, well, what the important part is and what the goal is in the end, but focus on the small victories that are every step of the way, and remember to reward yourself and reward your team and reward the people around you that's a part of the project. Remember to do that while you achieve results and you achieve milestones.